Hey, welcome back to the Dynasty Playbook, where Tyler's gonna giggle like a little girl. It's fantastic. It's been a hot minute since we've been around, but we're back. We're excited to be back. For those of you who are just listening for the first time, my name's Drew. You can find me on Twitter at Drew Dotson NFL. With me is my excellent co-host Tyler. You can find him on Twitter at HBombIDP. And it's been a hot minute. How you been, bud?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back. Talking about football, doing all that. And of course, we opened the show with me giggling away. So we're immediately back to the shenanigans, which is cool. So let's do this.
Yeah, let's break some of this rust off. And let's just dive right in. I mean, we haven't been here for 2 months. Let's talk about what we got wrong and what we got right and, put it all out there. And I think it's easy enough to say that I was wrong on my bet with Brandon Cooks. I lost that bet. He was not the wide receiver 8. But if you look at him week 1 through week 16, your championship week, wide receiver 1. I will take that shit. Even if you include week 17, he's the wide receiver 13.
No, you take it and run. I mean, good season. I mean, yeah, he was a little bit up and down to begin with, but it seemed like over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks, every time you look at the stat tracker, it's a Brandon Cooks touchdown. I know it's, he didn't, I don't know if he scored every week. I highly doubt it, but it just seemed like he was just, posting bombs every week. So, yeah, all about it, dude. You were all over Brandon Cooks. You were paying 101 plus for him, and I don't disagree at all.
Yeah, he definitely outplayed his touchdown ceiling that in most people's estimation they were looking at him to have 5 or 6 touchdowns because he's not really a red zone threat. But when you're getting 20-plus yard touchdowns, kind of like Julio does, not that Cooks is Julio, it doesn't really matter if you're used in the red zone. But I feel like there's another wide receiver we were both toting that also had a pretty good year as a rookie, and that's Stephon Diggs. And I don't think we said it enough how much we liked him and how much we were willing to stick our necks out there and take him high. I looked at my my rankings on Fake Pigskin from the preseason, and I had Diggs at 206 in a 2 QB rookie ranking. So, yeah.
Yeah, nailed it. Boy, how about that first week when, he wasn't even playing, right? I mean, just very sparingly. And the first week he comes out and what do you have? A couple touchdowns, 5, 6 catches. I don't remember what the specifics were, but he comes out and we both just we voxed each other kind of like, you getting this? You see this? It's happening. And then he does it the next week and he kind of petered off. But Stephon Diggs is legit, especially given what you had to pay for him. I mean, there were probably a handful of drafts where he didn't even go. If we were talking offense only, 12 team, 3 rounds, he might not have even gotten freaking drafted. So, I mean, he was slide down a lot of boards, and I really personally stuck my neck way out there on him on one pick. I think I took him like 203. This was before the NFL draft, which was just nuts. So,
yeah, they
really good. Draft. Yeah, really good to see some return there already, and the future's bright, man. Teddy's not your best fantasy quarterback. I don't think he's ever going to put up Roethlisberger numbers, but he likes Stephon Diggs. He's going to feed Stephon Diggs. He's an accurate passer, and Diggs has a pretty complete game. He's not a deep ball guy necessarily. He's not a slot guy necessarily. I mean, he runs the full route tree, and he can do a little bit of everything for him. So, love it.
Yep. I mean, let's talk about some more guys with some bright futures that – either you were completely on, like DeAndre Hopkins, or that you and I shared a man crush on, like Allen Robinson. The craziest thing to me is this is not DeAndre Hopkins' ceiling because his quarterbacks were Ryan Mallett and Brian Hoyer and Dick Face. I don't remember his name. It has to – his ceiling has to be higher. That's crazy. And then A-Rob, I mean, the biggest concern with A-Rob's production wasn't Allen Robinson. It was, can Bortles really support a legit wide receiver 1? And apparently he can support, a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 2. So, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Big splash, huge splash by these guys. A-Rob, and I remember we did a show in season. I don't remember what week it was. It was probably like week 1, week 2. And before we decided to just shut it down for the season because we have entirely too many teams to manage and the podcast just wasn't fitting. So anyway, that's why we've been gone. But I remember after week 1, A-Rob put up a 0 for 0, and I think he had like 2 targets. And I remember saying, man, I'm freaking nervous because that's not cool. And I know it's just one game and we don't want to overreact, but to see that in game 1 of the season after they've had an entire offseason prepared, it scared the shit out of me. And then, of course, we know what happened. He went ham. What was he on the season? Like wide receiver 5 or something?
Something like that. It was
like it just kept going and going. And I'm thinking, man, if A-Rob's a top 20 wide receiver, I'm going to be stoked. You know what I mean? If he finishes in the top 20, I'm going to be happy. And then dude just went off. And I bet you there were a lot of redraft teams with Allen Robinson on their roster. A lot of redraft championship teams with Allen Robinson on their roster when you factor in the cost. So both these guys went off. Nuke's going to be a very high first-round startup pick, potentially a 101. If somebody took him 101, I wouldn't even bat an eye. A-Rob's going to be a first-round startup pick, right? He's got to be. He's got to be. There's only 2 running backs left. The guys taking QB early have been smacked enough that they're done doing that shit. It's going to be 10 wide receivers and 2 running backs. And A-Rob, if he's not, a top 10 wide receiver, I don't know who is.
It's probably going to be 9 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end.
Oh, forget about that guy. But he's a tight end, man. Yeah, I'm over it. First round Gronk, no thank you. I don't want any part of first round Gronk.
But
he's
a
roster wrecker.
I remember that first round, that week 1 with Jacksonville. Rashad Green got like 13 targets. We all pissed our pants. Horrifying.
Rashad Green, people. Rashad Green.
That's a buy low for this offseason.
Jeez, no thanks.
No, it for what he's going to cost you. Why not take the gamble? Maybe he replaces Hearns. I like Hearns a lot, but Hearns' price is essentially his ceiling right now, so I'm not buying.
Yeah, there was an interesting Twitter discussion the other day, and I don't remember who started it, but he went at like 5-0 something, 6-0 something in a startup draft, and we're talking offense only. I was like, that's pretty freaking good. That's a good price on him, I thought. And then Mocker jumped in, and, he's given the numbers for the Jacksonville offense, and their run-to-pass ratio is not sustainable, I guess. I mean, it's just not. So that caps the ceiling of Hearns. And that's when you brought it up that he's being drafted at a ceiling. The more I look at it, I think that's probably what we're going to see. Allen Hearns is going to be a popular pick in that range after you've got your, top 2 wide receivers.
Yeah. I forgot what my next point was going to be. I guess let's move on to some other guys. And, right now is going to be our little bragging party because we haven't been here all season. But we're definitely going to get some guys that we dropped the ball on too. Another guy we were big on in rookie drafts this year, David Johnson and TJ Yeldon. Both of these guys are in my top 5 running backs right now for Dynasty, and that's going to sound crazy to some people, but that's where it stands. And I couldn't have spent a higher pick on either of them. If you took Yeldon at 103, you're not hating life. Granted, I still think White's the right play at 103, but Yeldon would have just worked out just fine.
Yeah, I mean, they were both good. They were running backs we were fading. They were running backs we liked in this class, and we just so happen to be right for now. I mean, it's Dynasty. Hell, talk to me in a year. We could be way off. David Cobb could light the world on fire. He won't. But, it's within the realm of possibilities. But, yeah, Johnson, Yell, we both liked them because they were, 3-down backs. Catch the damn ball. It's great.
Oh, and I do want to point out one where I was right and Tyler was really wrong. I don't remember if you remember this name, Josh Robinson.
I've heard of him.
That kind of happened. But I thought about him because I was thinking, good rookie seasons, and I thought of Trent Richardson. But, these things could change. They could turn into, weirdly busts. But for the present time, it looks like they're playing out pretty well. And another guy that we got right, but on the opposite side of the spectrum, was Melvin Gordon, who we weren't as high on. And he kind of showed why. Granted, he definitely proved that he can participate in the passing game, which is a huge plus. But he just didn't impress me this year. I'm not going to make a real judgment call until I see him behind an actual offensive line and not just a bunch of fat guys. But it wasn't encouraging.
I came around on Melvin a lot, as we got deeper into the tape, deeper into everything. I'm buying him this offseason. You can acquire him for a third of what he cost. You know what I mean? I'm real comfortable. Like, say I've got the 112. I won my league. Awesome. Let's go get Melvin Gordon for the 112. You might pull that off. And the Chargers O-line is just awful. I mean, bad. The offense in general was dysfunctional at times, especially after Keenan went down. And then Danny Woodhead capped his ceiling, and he capped it hardcore because Danny Woodhead is a straight-up badass. And even when Gordon was getting his touches every game, Danny Woodhead was still getting his. So, like Drew said, we're not even close to closing the book on him. But the shortcomings he had in his game, they showed, this year. They definitely showed. But I'm just not going to read too much into anything with Melvin Gordon this year because the team is craptastic, man. I mean, good Lord. I mean, Eric Dickerson couldn't have run behind that line this year.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think about what he's transitioning from. He transferred from, probably the best defensive line in the college game to one of the worst in the NFL. That requires a real adjustment in how you play and how you read, defensive movements. It's a huge adjustment. So, all these guys that were saying, hey, they didn't look good or, they probably aren't going to turn out how we thought. Anything can change, Look at the difference in Devonta Freeman, who I'm still not 100% on, but we're going to get there. You know what? Forget it. Let's do it now.
Let's do it now. This is going to be going in the mist department, I think.
Fuck it. Let's do it live. Freeman his production was obviously unsustainable from the beginning of the season. But if you go back and you watch his carries from early in the season, it was 7, 8, 9 yards before a defender touched him, and then arm tackle couldn't break a tackle to save his life. That O-line was making his stats for him, even more so than DeMarco Murray last year. You kind of saw more what he was at the end of the season, and he's still an RB1. It's because just by proxy, because there's no one else to be an RB1, but he's not the RB3. He's not a top half of the RB1 tier. He's all right. He's better than I thought he was. I will admit that I was wrong there, but he is not as good as some people think he is.
And I agree with you everywhere there. His vision, and I don't give a shit if the hole's 8 feet wide. The dude could bring it across the field on a plant and get in the damn hole. And that's the thing that impressed me most. And he ran like he had a problem with everybody. You know what I mean? Like Chris Ivory. Like I got a problem. He brings the boom. He's way involved in the passing game. And yeah, his first 5 weeks, it was bonkers. It was nuts. He wasn't going to sustain that TD rate. He wasn't going to sustain the yardage rate. It just wasn't going to happen. And he regressed. But even the Atlanta game last week, I was pretty impressed with the guy. I thought he looked really good. And they're going to be the detractors, and they're going to be the people that pump him up too much. And I think we're going to be fairly level-headed on him in that, he just is what he is. He's a good football player. He's a lot better than we thought. And granted, he was in a really nice situation with an O-line that blocked well, but the dude had to get in those holes. And I watched several times where the play is drawn to the 5 hole and he bounces it all the way back to the 2, and one cut, boom, up the field in the gap. And he's heading downfield. He's not Eddie George. He's not a superstar. He's not even on Gurley's level. But he's a good back. I'll own none of him this year. Even in the startups I'll do. I won't have any of him. He'll go too high. He'll be I bet you'll get him back into the second, early third. When the dust settles, he's going to be in that range of a startup draft.
It could easily go higher. It's too high.
It's too high.
I mean, look at how high Jeremy Hill was being taken this last year. He could easily be higher than what you're saying. And
fade running backs early in a startup, people.
Unless it's Todd Gurley.
Man. Fade him. I mean, I love Gurley. Gurley's amazing. And I've got him on several teams, but early in a startup, man, you put Allen Robinson face-to-face with Todd Gurley, I'm taking A-Rod. You put Mike Evans Gurley, I'm taking Mike Evans. I'm going to take the running back almost every time when the price is comparable. That's completely an aside here. But more often than not, the wide receivers you play.
Yeah, a final note on Freeman is, you're right. He played aggressively, and he's gonna keep getting carries. He's not gonna keep losing carries to Tevin Coleman like I thought was gonna happen. But the production he saw in the passing game that's got to be the ceiling for it, because Roddy White is a borderline skeleton running around on the field, and Leonard Hankerson did so well that he got cut.
Did you just subtweet somebody on air?
I'm not saying that I'm talking shit to anyone, but if I was, you know who you are. And Justin Hardy, I mean, even if he's going to be a thing, which, I mean, he's running out of time before his Social Security kicks in, he's not there yet. So Devonta Freeman was essentially the number 2 receiving option, and I don't think he's going to be there in the future.
Come on, quit putting asterisks on it, man. Devontae's pretty good.
He is.
He definitely has his detractions. It's so hard, guys. It's so hard for us to just go to just swallow it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, another running back.
Because I didn't want. What was it, Devontae? He's barely even an athlete. I mean, on paper, like every metric in the world said Devonta Freeman is ass.
I mean, we didn't call him least mode all offseason for nothing.
Least mode. I even had a GIF, and I had it prepared for every single draft, even mocks, where Devonta Freeman got drafted. I had to post this GIF of least mode. I mean, come on, man.
But man,
he was good, dude. He was good. We probably seen his best work. It's probably his best fantasy season he'll ever have, which is great. It was a really good season.
Yeah, I mean, if this is your best season, you're not exactly complaining.
Yeah. Well, you see the running back seasons, they were piss poor this year overall. I mean, granted, the injuries definitely played a part in that, but yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Talking about another running back that had a not bad season, and that's Doug Martin, who we were completely writing off, except for at his value. If you had told me he was going to do half of what he did, I'd have called you crazy. He was worth a gamble at his price, but even then you weren't expecting a lot. But he did all of it and more. He was fantastic this year. He just you saw the things out of him that you saw when he was a rookie, when he ran for 250 and 4 touchdowns against Oakland. There's a reason why he was a first round running back at one point. But I'm really interested to see where he goes from here. I don't think I'm going to end up owning him because the hype is going to increase his price dramatically. But the places I have him, I'm happy to have him.
I don't have any Doug shares. I have one, or I had one, and I remember came on this show, and I said that I'm going for the throat in this league. I'm going to go win right now this year. And I traded Doug Martin in a package for Adrian Peterson. And I'll quote myself, because I want to win. And that's why I did it. And Doug Martin won't help me win. Well, I missed. All right. Ooh.
Not necessarily. I mean, AP helped you win.
No, I mean, I wouldn't. Not that I still think I'd probably take AP, even knowing what we have left of him, straight up over Doug Martin right now. In fact, I know I would. Even if you tell me I've only got 1 year of AP left, I'd still take it over, Doug Martin's career. I think we saw the best of him. I think we saw what it is.
You may be right, but I won't admit it. I'm gonna stay anti AP
You want to talk
because
about a guy, Doug Martin, who's seen the full spectrum of dynasty value range? You know where he's been? This dude's been, well, he was a first round rookie pick. I remember him in the first round, middle to
no,
late.
not first round startup pick after his rookie season.
Well, I mean, I'm talking like from the very get go, beginning of
yeah.
the timeline with Doug Martin. Where are we getting Doug Martin? Obviously it was Le'Veon and Gio and Monty Ball.
Wrong class. He was.
No, that's his class.
He was the David Wilson class.
Was he really?
Yeah. David Wilson.
Oh yeah, you're right. Anyway, he was still a first round rookie pick, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so he's first round rookie pick, and then he's dynasty running back 1 or 2. And he's a first round startup pick, and then last year happened, or going into last year, where you were getting him, well outside of that range, and then he moves back up, and at some point he's probably barely even in the top 20 dyno running backs, and just all over the damn map. I don't know. I'd rather have Sims at a third of the cost.
Yeah. If Martin moves on, I'm still not interested in Sims. I'm going to go for whoever else they bring in because Sims is not going to be able to hold down that backfield on his own, and he's not going to be able to do Woodhead things.
I think he can do Woodhead things. I don't think he can put up that kind of crazy numbers, but I think he'd be a serviceable PPR back. Hell, he was a serviceable PPR back this year.
Yeah.
He was all right. All right. But, I mean, do you think Doug is going to leave? I mean, I don't know what the cap situation is. It would certainly think that if I'm Tampa, it's probably a guy I want to keep around. I don't know.
I don't trust Lovie Smith to make the right decision anytime, so. Yeah, so we'll move on from Martin. We'll talk about another guy that, I hyped up a good bit and did not do any of the things except for like 1 week when he did all the things. And that's Isaiah Crowell. And I'm still not 100% sold that he's going to bust. I'm not even close to 100% sold. He's in a weird timeshare with a garbage offense. And I may just be making excuses at this point, and I am fine with accepting that. But the talent's there. We've seen it, and maybe it's a character thing. Maybe he's lazy half the time and he's not putting forth the effort. I couldn't tell you. I will tell you, I might have overhyped him a little bit.
I'm moving on. Granted, it wasn't a very good offensive line, but I watched him run right into the back of his offensive line enough that I just don't think it's there. He had a few nice games. But I was starting in week 1, starting in week 2. I'm like, all right, we're doing things. I wasn't ever as big on Crowell as you are, but I still had my shares. A lot of that's just because I believe Drew. Drew's a good evaluator, especially at running back. Drew's great at running back evaluations. So if he's on a guy, chances are I'm going to be on a guy too. I'm over it, man. I'm not selling him. He ain't selling him. If he's on your roster, what the hell are you going to sell him for? I mean, he's probably not a bad buy, but I'm certainly not, going out of my way to acquire him. I think it's time. I'm just moving on, man.
At what his price is going to be this offseason, in like probably the one league out of 19, 20 that I don't have him, I'm going to go get him, because even if I have to hold him for another 2 years and wait for him to become a free agent, somebody is going to make him a starting running back. And he went to Cleveland, which is just a haven for intelligent football roster decisions. I'm going to wait and see what a real team does with him. And it's not going to cost me anything at this point. And it didn't cost me anything when he was a rookie either. It cost me a 3rd-round rookie pick, which, granted, in that class could have got you John Brown, Martavis Bryant, Jarvis Landry, but, it is what it is. Another guy we were super off on was Jeremy Maclin. I'm sure we had a hat bet on Jeremy Maclin just not hitting 1,000 yards. I'll have to go back and find it because it's back there. It must have been right after free agency started, but he He did really well. I mean, that's all there is to it. Alex Smith had a great rapport with him, and Alex Smith was probably the best he's been for fantasy, that he's ever been. And that might be wrong. I don't have Smith anywhere, so I haven't tracked him. But based on Macklin's numbers, he had to be at least partly usable. Plus Macklin and Kelsey, who also had a good season when Andy Reid remembered that he was on the team, which is really my only knock on Kelsey at this point. But yeah, totally missed on Macklin.
Oh, yeah, way off. I don't know. It's personal with me and Jeremy Macklin. I never liked the guy. I hated those Missouri teams. Chase Daniel, Macklin. I did like Denario. Remember Denario? That makes me sad when I think of Denario Alexander. DX, dude. That dude could have been all world.
And I mean, you look at him. Look, he started doing it in the NFL and then got broke immediately. Remember when he was playing with San Diego?
Yep.
It was. He was doing the things.
I remember I rolled him out there in redraft that year a few times.
Sure
and
did.
Had some nice weeks, man. Yeah, that's it's sad. It's a bummer, but Macklin did really well. Macklin's a good player, man.
Yeah.
This is the first time Alex Smith's had a real receiver since the heyday of Dwayne Bowe. You remember Dwayne Bowe? Do you remember some guy came on here and I think it was a guest or something, made some ridiculous hot take about Dwayne Bowe this year and how he was going to tear it up in the Cleveland offense? I seem to remember some guy saying that.
I'm pretty sure it happened. I don't remember. It was some jackass, but
what an idiot.
I'm just going to throw it out there that Dwayne Bowe's heyday does not match up with Alex Smith at any point in time.
No?
No.
Yeah, you're right.
By the time Smith got there, Dwayne Bowe was already, just taking naps in the locker room. The only real receivers he ever worked with were Broken Crabtree. Well, he had a healthy Crabtree too. And Grandpa Bolden. So, Macklin is the best receiver he's worked with. Granted, Crabtree himself has looked completely different in Oakland. He's been a huge revelation, but still, we just completely missed on Macklin, just like I missed on Brandon Marshall.
I didn't.
I may have said that I don't think he's going to hit 1,000 yards this season. That might be something I said, or he's not going to hit 70 receptions. I think he wasn't going to hit 70 receptions, is what I said. But I was wrong on all accounts. Granted, I don't think anybody predicted that the Jets' offense was going to look like it did, and that Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to do, QB1 things, but he did. And Brandon Marshall is defying the age curve, and he's kind of doing the opposite of what Calvin's doing. Calvin has had higher highs, but Marshall has just been steady across the board almost his entire career. And it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. So that's my bad. I missed there.
It's the Chan Gailey effect, man. I mean, there's your 2015 fantasy MVP. It's Chan Gailey. I mean, Ivory really hit a wall, didn't he? But Ivory was kicking ass to start the season. Decker was. I read a stat that Decker was the only non-quarterback, and I may be off here, but the only non-quarterback to score at least 10 standard fantasy points in every single game.
Really?
And I'm fairly certain of that. If it's not, he was the only one. He was one of a very small number of guys to do that. So Decker was nails, man.
Like, thinking about it, it makes sense because he was in on every game. There was no lack of production for Decker. The ceiling wasn't there, but the floor certainly was.
And Marshall, I love Brandon Marshall. Everybody, I mean,
you can't not like him.
I can't. I love the guy. He just beasted. He just beasted, dude. Just tore it up.
He's my wife's favorite player. Every time he comes on the TV, she gets all excited.
Yeah, he's got a future in broadcasting too, dude. He's smooth on set. When you see him go on NFL Network or ESPN,
I can't wait for him to retire just for that.
Yeah,
maybe
I like him.
Maybe he'll kick Chris Carter or I don't know. Anybody off. Speaking of people being on NFL Network, how about Stephen A. Smith showing up there and ruining my day?
What?
Yeah, Stephen A. Smith was on NFL Network.
Like, has left ESPN and gone to NFL Network?
No, just both.
Oh, gross.
Yeah,
did he bring dumbass with him? What's a Bayless?
No,
Christ.
He was just dumb by himself. But like Irvin, I can do without Irvin.
No, not the playmaker, dude. We won't have playmaker
Nah.
slander in here.
Nah, give me LT and Brandon Marshall doing a game all day.
LT's a class, dude, man.
Dude,
I love LT.
He's the shit. After Deuce, favorite running back in the NFL to ever play. Granted,
he's from around my neck of the woods. He's from around. I think he went to Waco or something. And you hear talk about what he did in. I think it's Corsicana. Anyway, but what he did in high school, he still holds Texas high school records for single game performance. Season performance. I don't know if you know anything about Texas high school. They move the ball.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Hall of Famers tend to do well.
Yeah. Well, we can really get sidetracked, can't we? It's good to be back.
It really is.
We're just two dudes talking about football.
Yeah, let's finish off on two more guys that we missed, and we'll move on to some IDP guys that we hit or missed on. We'll do a little bit of IDP talk. It's looking right now like Nelson Aguilar was a miss, at least in the fact that, we said after Cooper he was probably the most likely to be the leading fantasy producer out of the wide receivers, and that didn't happen at all. It's way too early to write it off. He's got 2 more seasons to change what he's doing, but right now it's not looking hopeful.
Man, he took a lot of snaps, dude.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
And didn't see hardly any targets.
And wasn't efficient on the targets he did see.
No.
God, that offense was so bad. This is the same offense that's carried you to fantasy titles. Remember that. Last 2 seasons. I mean, remember Shady McCoy in 13? Holy crap.
Or Jeremy Maclin or D-Jax.
D-Jax. Yeah. Do you know I think he's 30. I think D-Jax just turned 30.
I think he's just turned 29. Yeah.
He's dynasty
28
dead.
this season.
He's dynasty dead now. He's got 2 strikes, dude. He's a munchkin, and he's 29.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Aguilar, man, God. I can't even say anything about cost because, God almighty, if I didn't pay for him. I loved the dude. And we're not closing the book here, but, and I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not a stats guy, but I got to think his rookie numbers in comparison with history as far as when you take into account how many snaps he took. That's not good, man. There can't be a great pathway to big-time fantasy success from that.
Watch his best correlation with fantasy production and, changing over the years is going to be like Tavon Austin, who just out of the blue started doing, point things this year.
No, he's Percy Harvin.
And,
I mean that's the type of player he is. Tavon Austin he's a gadget player. That's just who he is, and he rode the TDs too. But oh man, I don't know, Aguilar. That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, you want to know what's going to bum me out even more than Aguilar? Devontae Adams. I took Devontae Adams at 106. I took Devontae Adams over Odell Beckham in some leagues. I took him over Allen Robinson in a number of leagues, including the league that you and I faced off in the championship. I took Adams over Allen Robinson, I think, by a pick.
No, it was what? No, actually, you took Adams. I took Adams. I took Adams. You took Robinson, and then we traded.
That's right.
They got traded in a package because we were just like, what's the freaking difference?
God, that was part of the luck trade.
It was.
It makes it even worse for me.
It was such a bad trade for you.
I traded Luck, Evans, and Allen Robinson for DT, Kaepernick, and Devontae Adams. Still won the championship that year. Still made the championship again this year.
So deep. Your team's so deep.
Dude, it's the hotness.
Oh, God, so many mistakes. Devontae Adams, man, I'm moving on, and I'm moving on even more than Isaiah Crowell. I mean, he was bad, dude. How many balls just went? I mean, literally right through his hands. I mean, like, and they didn't even touch his hands. It just went through them. It was bad, and he got 100 million targets.
It was bad.
I didn't see that, dude. I mean, I really didn't see that, especially the Fresno tape. I mean, that dude worked the sidelines like nobody's business. He was a beast in the end zone, monster at the catch point.
I don't know what it is. I mean,
the ball was underinflated, man. Not overinflated. A-Rod likes them overinflated.
Well, then they would have been underinflated because they couldn't overinflate them anymore.
There it is. Devontae Adams coming back when the NFL loosens their stringent PSI rules.
That or Devontae Adams just can't produce when he's not playing with the greatest quarterback of all time, and he lost that when he left Fresno State.
Oh, God, kill me.
Yeah, Derek Carr did good this season too, so just saying. But, yeah, I'm not completely writing off Adams, but I probably should. I'm going to give him. You can't
write him off because he's on your damn roster now, and that's not the kind of guy you can drop.
All the rosters. Oh, man. Oh. So many rosters.
I mean, dude, I'm chalking it up as an L with him. Yeah. And that's hard for me to do. I never want to close the book. And a lot of it's just for fear of being wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll take the hickey on this one. If he comes back and blows it up next year and ends up being a monster, I'll take the hickey on it. But I'm so over this dude.
Yeah, like I'm way more willing to take the hits on like Macklin and Brandon Marshall because I predicted the end too soon. But with Adams, it just showed that my evaluation was completely off, and that's what bothers me more. And it's not even one of those things where your evaluation was kind of wrong, so you can try and find errors in it and where you messed up. But you look at this and you go, what the hell? Where do I even go from here?
Yeah, it was, the 105, 106 in the best rookie class in recent memory.
In any memory. I mean,
you could have taken anybody in that first round outside of Adams and Bishop Sankey, Ebron, whatever.
Ebron hasn't done bad.
He hasn't done bad, but he's not first round. I mean,
you're right.
Within the context, I'm saying it was very, very difficult to screw that rookie draft up. And I did it.
Outside of Adams, I didn't do it, but I definitely did it with Adams. But let's move on to a little bit of IDP talk, and then we'll hit some questions. My favorite hit was a guy that I was all about. Was my favorite defensive end is Ziggy Ansah, and he did what I thought he was going to do this year. He was a top 5 defensive end, and Breeze. I was right. You were wrong. Because I'm
Breeze really didn't like Ziggy, and I liked Ziggy, but I didn't have anywhere near your passion for him. I think I had my DL7, something like that, and I was going to go through and redo my ranks, and I was about ready to move Muhammad Wilkerson up to DL3 before he broke his shit. You never like to see that type of injury. It's hard to justify moving him up there, but I think Ziggy's definitely in that conversation. If somebody ranked him DL2, I don't think I'd be upset at that.
That might be a bit outside of where I'm thinking.
Quinn just broke his back. Chandler can't stay on the field for more than 2 or 3 games at a time. Ever.
I still have him as my 3.
So then you get into Milky, you get into Everson Griffin, who had a down year, but I love Everson Griffin. Then you know what I mean. You get into that next run, and why wouldn't Ziggy be ahead of the class? And if somebody wants to ding Quinn or Chandler Jones, I can't blame them.
Yeah, Quinn is still my 2.
Yeah, he's mine as well. But like I was saying, there's an argument to be had for him not being.
There's going to be a decent bit of ruffling up of the defensive end rankings here pretty soon because Fowler's finally going to have a healthy season. He's going to be top 5 off the bat basically, and then you're going to have if Joey Bosa goes to a 4-3, he's going to wreck house. He could hop Quinn with relative ease if he's in the right system. If Joey Bosa gets linebacker designation, I will cry.
It's death. It's just like with Clowney.
Not like when I cried when the Rams drafted Todd Gurley. Not that bad, but I'll cry a little bit.
Never forget. I'll never forget that look on your face.
That video is still on YouTube. It is. I go back and watch it once in a while, just for memory's sake.
But it worked out all right.
Yeah, I mean,
just
you
lose Trey Mason, but whatever.
Yeah, that's the one that kind of killed me. But I mean, I traded Trey Mason for like a first and Tyler Eifert last, like right before the draft. So that paid off super well for me.
But Mason was good when he got his run.
Yeah.
But this Gurley guy,
he's
a little bit better.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the linebackers that you were all about and you completely nailed. Well, almost all of them. The one that you and I were in on together, we both blew.
Some of these guys are dying. CO. I'm holding out some hope for CO. DeQuell's so old, man. And DeQuell, second year in a row, top 4 or 5 linebacker, depending on your scoring format. He was your LB1 this year in a lot of scoring formats, which is awesome. And Freeman's older too and busted, and I think Freeman's on a short contract, so let's not close the book on CO. Telvin Smith's the guy, man. Telvin Smith right now.
It's got to be top 3.
I did an update. I think like late November. I'm moving him up to 4. I think, but I think he's got to sit right there at 3 behind Kuechly and David, and I think Kuechly is firmly taken over the number 1 over Levante David because Quan has just capped David's ceiling. I think that's what's happened more than anything else. But Telvin, you want to talk about a cost of acquisition guy? Man, if you got him when he was a rookie, you didn't pay shit for him.
He was a waiver wire darling. I mean, I remember you picked him up off the waiver wire when the leagues were in together.
Yeah, and I had one trade with Dylan where it was just a little baby trade, and we swapped Deion Jordan and Telvin Smith, kind of like, you want a D lineman, I want a linebacker, let's do this. And, wow, that paid off. So Telvin, I mean, and he's good. And Paz is old.
Yeah.
And that defense is still going to be on the field a ton. It's coming around. I firmly believe Jacksonville is a program on the rise. I mean, everybody believes that. I mean, they're doing the right things. But Telvin, young, and I don't know what his tackle total is, but since he's been in the league and playing, I bet you he's top 2 or 3 in tackles in the league. And he has a big play ceiling, too.
Yep.
He's
a monster.
He really is. It's just a huge hit, and Telvin Smith is just a wonderful asset to have on a Dino team. Unbelievable, because you're going to have him there for a long-ass time. He is young.
Yeah. I mean, if they lose Pause and no one comes in as a real tackle thief, he could jump to the 2 easily.
Yeah, I mean, he does it with Pause.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's crazy.
This is his ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a good player. And C.J. Mosley and Ryan Shazier were ahead of the class there, and for good reason, and should have been. But, Telvin, you were going to get him at LB 7, 8, 10, 12. It's just crazy how that has just paid off in spades, and a lot of it's opportunity. But cream rises to the top, man.
Sure does. And, there was not a bigger Bobby Wagner supporter than me, but he can't keep up. It's I mean,
Bobby Wagner.
the defense is a complete tackle thief, but he's still he's just a step behind. But that whole tier, I mean, you jump down from that, and it is a massive tier break, in my opinion, even to C.J. Mosley.
I don't know. I like Ogletree's up there.
I like Ogletree, but I just don't have him that high. He's clearly in that next tier for me, and that top 4 is just that's a guaranteed 20 points almost on a week.
Yeah. Consistent. That's the best thing about linebackers like that is they bring it every week. They don't have to get targeted to hit somebody. Yeah. So it's great. I love IDP, man.
I'll tell you, the 2 biggest IDP players that got in my craw this year. First was Morgan Burnett, because I started off by firmly and emphatically, suggesting he was the DB1 and he should easily be the DB1. And then he does fucking nothing. and he screwed a couple of my lineups. You know, he was questionable every week. He was questionable going into afternoon games. And if I had to run around and do something that day and I wasn't thinking about it, I was starting an out player. Happened more than once. Because, you know, every time I'm like, if I start him, that's a DB1. That's solid points for the day. But he never played. And even when he did play, he wasn't putting up good points. He wasn't near the producer that he was. So, I mean, obviously the injury completely sapped his season, but God, I look like an ass.
It was awful. And I was Morgan Burnett DB1 too. It just didn't happen. And God almighty, do the Packers ever play at noon? Ever? Like ever?
Mm-mm.
Every freaking week he's got the cue, and it's Sunday night, Sunday afternoon, Monday night. Freaking aggravating. So you just got to pull him. And like you say, even when he came back, it just wasn't there, which is so bizarre because over the last, I don't know, X number of years, I remember I was doing a study on it, and it just got to be awful because I hate numbers, so I just nixed it. But Morgan Burnett was consistently the most consistent DB1 and high-end DB1 over like the last 4 or 5 years. Is every year you just keep coming across the net, Burnett, Jones, Bethea. You know, it's the same guys. And Morgan Burnett was head of the class. And nothing was pointing to him losing any tackles. Clay Matthews at inside linebacker, get the hell out of here. You know, rotating whatever at you know, the other inside linebacker. Clinton Dix played pretty well, but I wouldn't consider him a tackle thief. I don't know what happened. The Green Bay on both sides of the ball. I know the offensive guys are pissed off because Green Bay shit the bed all year. They wasn't any better on defense. Matthews was pretty good some weeks. Clinton Dix was solid for the most part. Mike Daniels was pretty good up front. And that's it. I mean, Demarius Randall had a few nice games, and Micah Hyde had a few nice games.
But if they're not getting return yards, they weren't good enough for it to really matter.
True. It's just a total wash for Burnett, and he's getting up there in years. I'll have to look at my safety rankings, but I don't see any way I keep him at the top. He's still going to be a top 4 or 5 safety. There's no way you knock him out of that. No way I do anyway. But he's
pretty much going to have to do with him what we did with Weddle this year.
Yeah. And I mean, and Jones is on a different level right now. Jones is on a different planet right now than every other safety.
Yeah.
So, you know, just a wash, man. It's a bad season.
Yep. And one more guy that we had him as our rookie LB1, didn't we? No, that's incorrect. That is completely incorrect. He's like our rookie LB3. I don't know why Anthony completely just did not come to mind at all, but he was amazing. Paul Dawson, he didn't even take the field. They were going, 2-3 deep on injuries at linebacker, and he still wasn't getting on the field. That's brutal. I mean, maybe it's, they're trying to make the playoffs and they don't want to send out the fresh rookie, but at a certain point, the depth guys you're bringing up have to be worse than this guy, or he's just that bad and we're completely wrong.
I don't know. I watched a ton of tape on the guy, and there was a lot not to like, but there was enough to like for this guy as a playmaker to buy in for me, especially when we're talking linebackers. We're not talking high investments, especially rookies. You're not investing a high leverage pick on him. I was all over him. I mean, all over the guy. And he just didn't play. And we know Marv doesn't like to play rookies. That's part of his shtick, right? But when A.J. Hawk's getting consistent snaps and Ray Malaluga's getting consistent snaps, and like you said, those guys are getting hurt, and Burfict didn't play for the first, 6 or 8 weeks.
Yep.
And Dawson's still not getting any burn. All right, is he bad at football? Is he a knucklehead? Is he falling asleep in practices? I don't know. The part of me wants to think he's a knucklehead because it justifies me. I think weird like that. And neither of them correlate with fantasy success, by the way. If you're a knucklehead, you fall asleep in meetings, or you're a bad football player, it doesn't matter. I just want to think it's the latter so that I don't feel like an idiot for just, praising him. I mean, he looked good in the preseason. I thought, Jesus Christ, you see some of those vines that came out of Dawson in the preseason? I mean, he was an animal at the line of scrimmage, but I don't know. Just have to see how it plays out. I'm not dropping him. I got way too much heart into this one, man. I got way too much personally on the line. I wrote a freaking giant article about him, and I went ham on Paul Dawson. That was my guy, and it's not looked so great so far, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, with that, I feel like we can, stop just kind of bragging about ourselves and let's move on to some questions. Let's help some other people. And our first one comes from, a great supporter of the show, Danny Tage. He's been, even during our breaks, he's been one of the biggest supporters of the show. He wants to know a list of the few guys we're targeting for next year, maybe some LB and DL too. And I don't know if he's talking specifically about rookies coming in or just, in the offseason guys to trade for. If we're looking at rookies, my favorite guys in this class are, Boyd at the top. And, I mean, I like Carew a lot. If Carew declared, right? No. I'm so behind on who's declared. If Carew declared, I'm all about Carew. But the other one is Michael Thomas, not from Ohio State. And I might as well let my sleeper out of the bag because Matt Waldman wet my sleeper out of the bag. He's putting out RSP film rooms on him. That's a Southern Miss kid, and he's good. He's really good. And that's going to be my Stephon Diggs this year. I'm thinking he's going to be the guy I'm willing to overpay every time for. But if we're looking at rookies, who are your guys you're targeting?
Man, I'm so far out on the offensive guys. I have no idea. It looks like Carew did declare. I mean, you hit a couple good guys. I just don't have much going on there on the offensive side. The defensive side guys are naturally going to be, a little bit later. Miles Jack. I think Miles Jack's going to be a freaking superstar. And I'm not ever one to spend high rookie picks on IDPs. I just don't do it. And we preached that ad nauseum last year. I could see me spending a late one on Miles Jack this year. I think he's that good, especially in leagues that reward IDPs. I'm not going to go spend that on him in a league where I get 1.5 for a solo and 3 for a sack or whatever. But if I'm getting these, if Luke Kuechly averaged 22 points a game, in your IDP league last year, it's time to give that serious consideration. Of course, we got a long ways to go, but Jack's he looks like the kind of guy that could break the mold. And I would say Jalen Smith also, except Jalen Smith just had a bad knee injury.
Yeah,
bad knee injury.
Instead of breaking the mold, he just broke himself.
Yeah, which really sucks. And it's still a good class. Even behind him, it's a good class. A lot of guys are on Reggie Ragland.
We did Ragland a couple months ago.
I'm going to stay lukewarm on Ragland all the way through. He reminds me of a better Benardrick McKinney, who I like, but I don't love.
If he falls to me, that's a guy I'll take, but I'm not going to go out of my way to get him.
Right, exactly. Bosa, obviously, defensive end where we're looking for difference makers. It's a big thing to have difference makers at DNs because there just aren't very many on Bosa, obviously. Jalen Ramsey is going to depend on what position he goes. If Jalen Ramsey goes safety, great. Awesome. Yeah. Oh, he's good. I mean, he's real good. So it's a really, really interesting and what I think is going to be a really good IDP class. Shaq Lawson, another guy. Ooh, Lawson's an animal. He might be the best defender in the country outside of Bosa this year.
He's got that upside, which is, I mean, he seems to be like a riskier pick, but the upside is tremendous.
And he could play in any setup, and I think he would be an end in a 3-4 too. Mm-hmm. Just looking at his build and the way he handles blockers, I don't think he'd be a guy that we'd have to worry about that stupid ass transition from defensive end to outside linebacker, which it's just the freaking worst.
Yeah,
but
he'd have that JJ Watt bonus of just you never have to worry about it.
Right, he's always going to be a defensive end. Yeah, exactly. So I'm really excited to dig into this IDP class, both on tape, on podcast, on paper, whatever. I'm pretty excited about it because it looks like we've got some real franchise type players. The Jalen Smith injury, man, what a blow.
Yeah,
for him, that sucks for him. This dude was about to get paid, dude.
It's Lattimore all over again.
And that's the type of injury he had, too. I mean, he tore everything in his damn knee. Oh, it's so bad. But, I mean, I hope the kid's all right. I mean, he's still going to get drafted. He's going to get drafted high, but he's not going to be a top 5, 6, 7 pick, which he very well could have been.
He might still be. It depends on, what the recovery from this looks like. There's still a long time until the draft comes.
It's a long ways to go, but tearing it in week, 16, 15, that's shitty, man.
Yeah. And, I mean, my insight on this rookie class is not as good as it was this point last year for the last class. I'm super behind on tape on these guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I'm super behind. But we're going to start covering guys probably 2 a week once we get into a regular rhythm, just because, I mean, that's what this time of year is for. It's for free agency and the draft. And covering players in the draft should be the biggest thing we're worried about. If we're hitting on them, that's what's creating your dynasty.
Yeah, the obsession will kick in here. We'll get cracking here. Well, I mean, there's a few guys like the Dixon guy who I hated. I did not like him, but all the people that I trust like him. Like him. Josh Norris likes him. Waldman likes him. I mean, they're all over this dude. I'm like, all right, let's listen. Booker from Utah, even though he's a little older, Booker's smooth as glass.
Yeah, we liked Booker when we looked at him.
There are going to be guys, what's the I know 2 of the tight ends went back, but the kid from Arkansas declared who I like his game. So, and quarterbacks, especially in a week class, like we're calling this class weak right now. I mean, it's the general consensus that it's a weak class. Spend the first on a QB is not the worst play.
I think it's weak in the sense that it doesn't have the upside that a lot of these classes have had. But in terms of how deep it goes on usable quarterbacks, I think it's one of the better classes.
Yeah, that's fair. Such a long way to go. Things change. They change now. They change in a month. They change at the combine. And then after the draft, all hell breaks loose. And you get to find out just how wrong you were, Trey McBride. It happens.
And Zach Zenner. And you know what? We might still be right about Zenner. He got injured like right after he got a chance, but
forget that, dude.
Oh God.
Abdullah's a great just spinoff here. I think Abdullah's a great buy this offseason. I mean, and we were discussing we're psychopaths, all right? We draft and like almost immediately after the NFL draft. Or
sometimes
even before it, sometimes before it when we're feeling truly psychotic. But Abdullah could have gone anywhere from like if you drafted at the very, very end of the preseason, you probably looking like a 103, 104, 105, something like that. But I saw him go like 204 early in the process. So we had this really wide range of where he was being selected. But in almost every scenario, you can buy him for less than that. And I think he's a good buy. I think he showed enough to say he's going to be a good back. I don't think that would be great, but Gio Bernard-ish.
Yeah, I just don't know how much I trust Cooter.
Never trust a Cooter.
I think my dad told me that once.
It's a strong life lesson.
And talking about guys targeting for this year that are already in the NFL, we've got a follow-up question for somebody else that kind of hits on the same thing, so we'll touch on that when we get to it. Our next question comes from @Ron Dynasty. Ron Dynasty. We should talk about startup drafting defense for Dynasty Best Ball. Levante David bumps up for me a little bit more. IDP Best Ball sounds painful to me. It really does. Give me more cornerbacks in Dynasty Best Ball.
I kind of like this, and we had talked last year. Justin Eustace runs the Nasty 26 leagues, which that's the best ball empire out there. It's a really cool leagues. We had talked about IDP, and I didn't put too much thought into it, but top end talent, forget it. I don't want any of the top end talent. I want none of it. Zero. Give me Melvin Ingrams. Give me a Tauchus. Give me guys like that. Guys that I want sack guys, big play guys. because that's the thing about IDP. And man, I fade rush backers like nobody else. I mean, I fade them more than anybody I know. I don't want anything to do with them because they can give you 0, or they can give you 50, or they can give you 5 or 20. It's obnoxious. But I have to actually set my lineups. In best ball, guy goes and gets 4 sacks, badass. Guy goes and gets 0 sacks, 0 tackles, I don't care. Granted, you're still going to want your inside backers, but you don't spend any picks worth anything on IDPs in that setup. Just bulk shopping.
Especially not at D line.
I mean, just go for bulk, and instead of taking one Luke Kuechly, take a Quan Alexander, and I'm having a tough time finding a name here, but take guys like that, guys that you can get 10 rounds later.
Kikaha.
Because who cares? Yeah, exactly. A guy like that would be beautiful in that setup. A combination linebacker would be even better. Mm-hmm. Anthony Barr would be. Oh, I drool over Anthony Barr. He might even be my LB1 in that scenario, or Mac.
Mac's probably going to end up as a D end, and I can say that because Breeze probably isn't listening.
He's out there somewhere.
I don't believe that. I think he's gone.
Nah, he'll be back, dude.
I hope so.
He'll be back. But yeah, Ron, I would just completely eschew top end talent. It doesn't freaking matter. Just depending on how many you start. If you start 2D linemen, you want 5 or 6 rostered. Go for depth, bulk on that side of the ball, and you'll always put up points. You'll put up points every single week.
And if they got flexes, which I've seen the best balls with flexes, DB for days.
Yeah, corners, like Drew said, load up on corners. He just kind of said that as a side. Definitely. Corners, Jesus. We talk about rush linebacker variants. Cornerback is maddening. I spend, I don't say hours, but in the leagues where I'm required to start a cornerback every freaking week, I'm scouring, which teams are allowing most points to cornerbacks and who's doing this and who's doing that and which teams are throwing the ball the most and which teams are targeting their 1s versus their 2s. And it still doesn't freaking matter. I still get it wrong.
See, that's why I just wing it every week. If I find a good one at the start of the season, I'll just ride him unless I know the matchup is just going to be terrible or there's like a bye week.
I go way too far with it, man. I go way too far. And like that, I don't know if you know, I did that giant Kelly Smeltzer Punk Truck Wonderland runs this giant. It's a 40-team IDP league, but it's like 4 divisions of 10 or whatever, 4 conferences of 10. And I did pretty well in the league, but what ended up being my downfall was streaming corners. And I streamed corners all year long. And I got it right a lot early. I was like, oh, this shit's easy. I got this in the bag. And God almighty, man, I took some blanks in clutch time and playoff time, man. Both my corners combined for 4 points. I'm like, God dang, So thank you, Aaron Colvin, for being a monster for 4 or 5 weeks and then completely disappearing in what would be considered a plus matchup for cornerbacks. But in best ball, hell yeah, you want them. They're going to get picks. They're going to get pick 6s, even more important. Pick 6 is it's the defensive version of 80-yard touchdown.
Pretty much. Let's move on to our next question. It comes from @XXZZANGXX, which that might be a word, but I don't know the sound it makes. Should I be trying to buy Andrew Luck? And if so, should I be buying him as the Dynasty QB1 as opposed to Cam Newton? Now, this is pretty appropriate because we had a big conversation about this the other day in our Voxer group. And, Tyler and I kind of came to a similar opinion that I'm ranking them all so close in that top tier that if you offered me one of them, Aaron Rodgers is obviously the third one. If you offered me any of them plus a second for the one I've got, I'm taking it. It's really that close for me. If I can pick up Andrew Luck on a discount because somebody's not sold, somebody's panicking, I'm doing it. Why not? Because he's, that top tier dynasty quarterback. But if you're in a 1 QB league, he's still a quarterback. I'm still not spending that much on him. Pretty much that's where I'm sitting.
Yeah, we are in complete lockstep here. 2 QB league is going to change that a lot. I put out some feeler offers this week, for Andrew Luck. I've decided I'm out of the AJ Green business. All right. And it has nothing to do with AJ Green. It has to do with he's getting up there. The offense, especially when Eifert was active, Dalton had a nose for Eifert in the end zone. That's what we wanted. And I still think AJ Green's a fantastic player and a dynasty wide receiver one. It's not even within question, but I decided I'm getting out of the business. So I offered AJ Green and I think Kirk Cousins for Luck. That kind of offer. And in a 2 QB league, Luck is more valuable than AJ Green. He's arguably more valuable than any other player out there.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're arguing Cam Newton or Luck at the 101.
Right.
Not Luck or a wide receiver or a running.
Right. Yeah, and that's what we had. I mean, we had a long Voxer discussion. It was all 2 QB, and it was really cool because usually our exchanges on that Voxer group aren't as mature in nature. So we actually had a good football strategy conversation. So if you can go get them on a little bit of a discount, especially in 2 QB leagues, go for it. In 1 QB leagues, I'm not ever really looking for a quarterback. If somebody, wafts me over the head with a good offer, cool. But other than that, I really don't care. Just give me Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'll roll with it. But in 2 QB leagues, yeah, if you can sniff around, see if you can get him for, I don't know, QB5 price. I don't even know how to price that. If you can get him on discount, go get him. Why not?
Pretty much. And we'll move on to our next one from @JoJo Mags, our buddy JoJo. The first offseason moves we're looking to make is the topic he wants us to cover. His guys are Diggs, Waller, and Matt Jones. Diggs is, if I'm in a league and I don't own him, it's probably because Tyler owns him. So not really much of a target for me. In the same vein as Waller, another guy I'm after is DeAndre Smelter, who I like a lot. Chris Conley, if I can get him relatively cheap. Jason Morrow is, yeah. You're not getting under the radar with that one. Oh, people are going to be, viewing him as a tight end 3 when, if you can name 12 tight ends that you think belong in a top tier, I don't believe you. He could easily be a tight end 1 next year, which, it's startable. It's not going to be fantastic, but the news might not have been good about him, but look at this offense. If he starts, he has a real chance to produce. So I'm going to jump on that train. I'm going to try and pick up some Tannehill on the off chance that, this offense does a thing, but I probably dropped the ball on Tannehill too. I had him ranked entirely too high this past offseason. But those are kind of the guys I'm looking at.
I got a few. We were talking about it before we went on. Michael Campanaro, little slot guy up in Baltimore. And, yeah, Drew definitely made a good point with, Steve Smith's coming back. So, obviously, that's not good for him. But, he's a nice player. And he's done well in his run, and the metrics are good. So I can see Campanaro being a really nice slot receiver. Smelter's another guy, obviously, that we're going to like. Torrey was Torrey. He was bad Torrey, too. He wasn't even like Torrey. He was just shitty. Bolden's really old. So, yeah, Smelter's a nice buy low target.
He's definitely, if there's going to be a wide receiver 1 on that roster, it's definitely Smelter and not anybody from Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, not Quentin Patton at all.
No, couldn't be.
Yeah.
No substance there.
Guys like that, a week ago I would have told you, and I did myself, like, hey, Ross, waivers are about to close. Just go pick up Justin Blackman and see what happens. Don't do that.
No.
Yeah,
no.
Don't do that. But yeah, Matt Jones is a good one for me. I actually bought him up in a couple spots. I didn't draft him because I'm an idiot. It's a good list. There are several buy low guys out there right now, most of whom are eluding me completely.
Yeah. If you got deep rosters, Kyrie Robinson is pretty much free. He's a guy I'm absolutely picking up in the leagues that I don't have him, which are none of them. I think that's about all
Lance
I got.
Dunbar. Go get your boy Lance Dunbar.
I already got Lance Dunbar. Why do I need to go get somebody I already got?
Oh, there was another guy. Who was the guy I was thinking about? It wasn't Bishop Sankey. That's another.
Terrence West.
Terrence West. I didn't even miss on Bishop Sankey. I was like, he's fucking free. Go get him. Could work out well, and it didn't work out well. And I still don't get it. I mean, I still don't understand. Antonio Andrews and David Cobb are the exact same person, and they're not good. And McCluster. McKinnon. McKinnon's a nice little buy this offseason.
Unfortunately, he put up some big games right before the season ended, so...
It doesn't matter. He's still cheap as shit.
I in 70% of places, I still think he will be, but 30% people are going to... Guys that bought him during his rookie season that saw what he did are still going to have that in mind. They're going to see what he did at the end of the season and think he still got that.
Yeah, I could see that. He's one of those guys that gets in your brain when you watch him. But hell, I mean, if this season didn't prove it, I don't know what does. But any running back with any talent is deserving of a roster spot on your dynasty roster, especially if it's deep at all.
Kadeem Carey. I'm not kidding.
Woo! I'm just saying. I mean, God dang, they broke at a very high rate this year. I mean, Charkandrick West. Who the hell is Charkandrick West? I still don't know where this guy came from. He was pretty good. Oh, Thomas Rawls. We're going to hit on him a little bit. Yeah, I mean, if a running back has any talent, go roster him.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much covers that. So we'll cover our next question from our buddy. I guess you'd call him that. At Ravage FF, and this is a trade he made. He gave the 103, the 201, and the 303 for Thomas Rawls in a 2017 mid to late first. I'm taking the 103 side in this one, and for me, I like Rawls. I think Rawls performed admirably this year, but I'm not one of those guys that's saying he's worth a first-round pick right now. You know, if you equate him to the 201, I can get down with that. But I'm not trading the 103 and the 303 for a mid to late first in 2017, even if it is a much better class. And I guess I don't value Rawls that highly, so there's no way for me to reconcile that.
Yeah, if that one, and I like the 103 side. If that 103 were like the 107, I'd like it a lot better. You know, I'd like the Rawls side a lot better. It's just Rawls look good, and I think he averaged, I don't know, 5 point whatever per carry. I mean, really nice, looked good, was super efficient.
Mm-hmm.
But Marshawn Lynch isn't dead. You know, I mean, remember he's talking about retiring last year and doing all this crazy crap, and he still could. But Rawls is still an undrafted free agent behind an animal at running back, at least right now, knowing what we know, was that he'll still be behind Marshawn when the season breaks next year. I just can't see coughing up that big of a price. Getting the 17 first back is huge. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
But the 103 is a very high leverage pick. You know, I mean, that pick is worth a ton. It's worth, I mean, you know how it works. The 101's worth, $1 million. And then the 102 is worth $750,000. And then by the time you get to 112, it's worth like $150. You know, so the 103 is worth a ton. I just think this is way more than I'd want to pay. It's more than I would pay. I wonder how the deal would look if you like cut out some pieces to try to make it work, but it's just a little bit much. But getting that 17 first back is great because you never know, man. The best team in the league, that could, if you're projecting to be a middle pick, that's not a great team. That could be the 101, and what is going to be considered to be probably will be the best running back class we've seen in a long, long, long time next year. So getting that 17 first is huge. Buying equity into that class already is nice, but the 103, man, that's a good player. That's a good damn football player. Whether we're love this class, down this class or not, that's going to be a good football player at 103.
Yeah, you could cut the second and the third for me. My decision wouldn't change because that's going between Boyd, Zeke, Treadwell. I wouldn't do it for the 104 because there's Doxson, who I don't know if I'm going to have him that high, but I could very easily have him that high. It would have to be, like you said, the 106, 107 for that to be something I'm going to do. But, I might be underreacting, and I've been guilty of it in the past, and I'm not really gonna change.
When all else fails, stick with your initial read till hell freezes over.
Yeah,
that's how you get a lot of Devontae Adams in your life.
Yeah, that happens.
I could write a "don't do this" kind of not necessarily, but maybe a memoir. I did this and it did not work out well.
Don't do the things I did.
Man, I've done some dumb shit.
Yeah. And Pat's side question is, who are your top guys, running backs, after Gurley and Bell, and how do you value them versus 2016, 2017 rookies? My top running backs after Gurley and Bell are going to be Yeldon, Hyde, and David Johnson in any order. I really haven't sat down and put enough thought into it. For me, Zeke Elliott could bump right up to the number 3, right behind Gurley and Bell. And that's kind of dependent on landing spot and, what his rookie season looks like, how high he goes in the draft, what his combine looks like, a lot of things. Derrick Henry is outside of those top 5 for me. And then you go to the 2017 class, and Leonard Fournette's the number 1 overall running back for me already, over Bell, over Gurley, because I'm a psychopath. And I would marry Leonard Fournette in the state. Well, all the states allow it now, so I'll do that. Chubb is going to be a top 5 guy. Cook he's going to be fighting right in there. Connor.
I hope he gets right, dude. What a sad deal. I hope Connor gets right. I love that, dude. I was crushed to hear it. I mean, it's just crushed to hear it.
But I mean, we've got success stories recently of people that have fought through and come back. I mean, look at
Eric Berry, dude.
Exactly, dude. Come back beast mode.
How about Mark Herzlich? Remember the guy, Mark Herzlich, still in the league, still kicking ass. I mean, he was, when he was at BC, remember he had to undergo all that treatment, and he ended up coming back. And Mark Herzlich, you want to talk about a guy like, I don't want to get in a bar fight with that guy. That's Mark Herzlich, and he beat the shit out of cancer too. So, I hope the kid's going to be all right, man.
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot of talent incoming at the running back position.
McCaffrey, dude.
I haven't watched nearly enough on McCaffrey. He's at the top of the list. Him and Michael Thompson actually. Michael Thomas sitting down and really digging into him. Those are at the top of my list on guys I need to do.
McCaffrey's so smooth. And what I like about McCaffrey is he just it looks like the game just kind of comes to him. You know what I mean? He doesn't really force the issue. He's just so smooth. He's just a football player. I remember a few years back, I was watching, ESPN on Friday night, and they had a high school game on, and Christian McCaffrey was playing. And I ended up texting my buddy. I was like, hey, you got to flip to ESPN right now and watch this. I mean, they did exactly what he does now. He's returning kicks. So he's playing fucking safety. I mean, the dude's amazing. So this 17 class, these running backs are bonkers. Where I would rank them in relation, my 3, probably the same as Drew's 3. Hyde and Yeldon. I don't know about DJ. I don't know who else I would put up in there. I mean, it's friggin' running back.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm doing it.
Ingram, I don't know.
Really, if you're outside of my top 2, then you're in a tier of, I don't know.
You're dead to me.
Not really. I mean,
you're going to have a hard time acquiring them.
Yeah, I'm going to take whichever one of them I like that falls the lowest. If Hyde goes the lowest, I'm taking Hyde. If Yeldon goes the lowest, then Yeldon's my guy. If it's DJ, if it's Dion Lewis, who I'm not that high on him in terms of rankings, just because I'm waiting to see what happens with New England. Not for any lack of what I've seen on the field, but we've seen what New England does to these potentially stud running backs. But yeah, it's. Outside of those top 2, I have no real preference on, having to get one or the other.
Yeah, outside of the top 2, I'd trade any single one of them for 101. but
Oh.
any single one of them for 102, probably 103. I would take Zeke. I mean, I think you just pop Zeke Elliott in it, at RB3 right now. I don't think it's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty likely, and 14 team mocker is sending us some love tweets.
Yeah, he doesn't like Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde is.
Oh no, it's about us talking bad on Hankerson.
Oh well, I mean, it happened though. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. It's a shame. It's a damn
talking
shame.
About us throwing shade, but he still beat us in a league that had Hankerson.
Oh, the Twitter league, the Nasty League.
It might have been.
My team is ass in that league. It's bad.
I duked it out for third place and just barely got edged out. I think I got edged out by like 9 points.
Does third place pay money?
Like a little bit.
Whatever. Give me my money. Give me something. I just have a terrible team. I don't even have. Oh, I have Beckham.
Yeah, me and Mike Marr were duking it out for third like the whole second half of the season.
I just kind of barely check in on those best ball. I check in on them every week, but I just feel so detached.
Yeah, if I'm not getting offers, I mean, what am I really looking at?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird. It's going to take me a couple years to figure out best ball. What do you do instead of just draft?
There's a formula we haven't found for the perfect setup, and I mean Justin's working tirelessly to find it. And I'm more than willing to be a guinea pig.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, guys, he fed our addiction, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, like it's the middle of summer. I want to draft spring. I want to draft something. And I want to draft something right now. And I don't want to mock draft with a bunch of freaking goons that draft the first 2 rounds and then ghost out for the rest of it. Like, I just don't really feel like it anymore.
That's why I stopped.
We did that.
That's why I stopped doing the mocks, holding the mocks that I was, because getting people to participate was 1, a pain, and 2, 80% of the people I got in were, after all the players that were, had real name cachet were gone. They're like, oh, I'm bye.
Like I would rather do nothing than draft Jermaine Curse.
It's like, thanks guys, thanks for the help. But let's finish it up with a combo question from our guy Justin Hustis and 14 Team Mocker. Justin wants us to talk about Hyde, and Mocker asks, will Carlos Hyde ever be an RB1 despite age situation? Yeah, because he's really, really good, and he showed that he can be really, really good. He did it, on the big stage on the first week of Monday Night Football. And then he struggled with a foot injury for forever on a doo-doo-ass offense, whatever. It's going to happen. He's going to be an RB1 this next year. I'd probably be willing to bet on it.
I mean, if he plays 13 games, he's probably an RB1. He is an RB1 next year on probably 13 games. I mean, well, how old is he? He can't be older than like 24 right now, maybe 25. There's no way he's even 25.
He's we're gonna find out.
See, Marker and his damn numbers, dude. He starts throwing these numbers at me and age adjusted, and I just like mind blown. I don't know what to do. Carlos Hyde can play football, man. That's what I see. And like Drew said, he did on the big stage and against what turned out to be a pretty damn good run defense.
Yep.
Over the course of the year. I don't know where he went from there. I don't know. But I'm all about it, dude. And I haven't seen any consensus ranks. He's not in anybody else's top 5 except for, fellow
crazy people.
Degenerates, yeah. So I don't see any reason why. I mean, what's it going to take for him to not be an RB1 next year? I mean, my God. RB is a wasteland. Even if all these guys didn't get hurt, it's a wasteland.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, he's 24. He turned 24 in September, so he's got almost a whole year worth of being 24 left. He's going to be all right.
They should have IR'd him. Pow, day 1.
Yeah.
They knew he was screwed up, dude. And it took, even once I was like, they're going to IR him, it still took him 4 or 5 weeks to IR him.
It really
Get
did.
that surgery immediately. That team was going nowhere. And if anybody in the front office or one of the coaches thought they were going somewhere, they're delusional.
I understand that concept of, you want to play for a championship every year regardless, but you can't look at what happened to that team during the offseason and think, we got a real shot this year. No. And they had such a bad shot, and the team was managed so poorly that, in truly Browns fashion, they fired their head coach after 1 year, which, rarely happens. But Tom Sewell is gone. Granted, he looked like a grease ball, and he didn't present the best public image, but I liked him. I thought he was funny.
Oh, it was cool. It reminded me of watching Aqua Teen. Every time Tom Sewell had a press conference, I just picture Meatwad and Fry sitting next to him. You know what I mean? Hey, what are you doing? If he talked with that thick Guido accent, it would just be so good, dude.
Oh.
But, the team's a dumpster fire, but it can't get worse. Or can it? I don't think it can. I really don't.
I mean, Blaine Gabbert's their starting quarterback. I feel like that's not even – it's symbolic more so than out of necessity. I think they wanted everybody to know what the season was about for them.
Well, it's like you got rock bottom, and then you bring in a drilling rig, and you drill down another 180 feet.
There's Blaine Gabbert.
Then you got to go a little bit more, and then that's Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert is worse than rock bottom. So, I mean, it's as bad as it could possibly be.
I mean, they got cut by a shitty Jacksonville team.
Yeah, I mean, cut in favor of Chad Henne.
Yeah.
Ooh, Chad Henne's not good at football. So, yeah, I mean, it can't get worse. Hyde was doing the do, man. He was doing his thing when he was healthy. I've seen all I wanted to see. I've seen enough. I'm all over it. In fact, Carlos Hyde's another interesting buy.
Yeah.
Very interesting buy because the iron is not hot on him. Not for the seller. Not for the seller.
Mm-mm.
I bet you get him for a mid to late first right now. Pow! Would you pay? What's the highest rookie pick you pay? I think I'd pay like 106, 107 for him. Easy.
I gotta dig into Michael Thomas's tape, see how high I'd take him. But I'd have Hyde over Derrick Henry right now. So
easily.
Yeah, it's got to be like 106 I'd give for him.
I don't think you'd have to pay that for him.
No, I don't think so either. Unless you're, in leagues with, you and me and Tim.
Go buy Hyde.
And Eric wouldn't sell you Hyde for the 101. not that we're in any leagues with him anymore.
Yeah, he retired. Our buddy Breeze retired. He lost his fire. It's a bummer. We're gonna miss him. I bet we could talk him into coming in and doing an IDP playbook with us this summer.
We might.
I bet we can. He'll get that itch. You have to get the itch. It doesn't just go away.
I'll tell you, I lost a lot of my fire this during the season. I had more fire during the off season than I did in the actual season. Doing player evals and having and maybe it was not being able to consistently do the show that killed it for me. But I felt way more detached from this season than I ever have, and it's a weird kind of thing to be wrestling with right now because the show I still love doing the show, but I don't know if my attraction to Dynasty is fading and I'm just still enjoying doing the show because it's fun. But then, I sit down and I watch 2 hours of tape and, it's enjoyable to me. So I don't know where I'm at.
It's rookie drafts, man. Rookie drafts get the blood flowing for me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, burnout during the fantasy season. God, so much is long, dude. Especially like me. I have a checklist I have to go off on Tuesday nights, on Wednesday nights, on Thursdays, and on Sunday morning. I got to go through all this crap, and especially in IDP leagues. You know what it's like watching the inactives and the actives on Sunday morning? Ooh, that is rough.
Mm-hmm.
But, so I definitely see how one could get burnout, especially managing so many leagues. And we kind of have this thing where we over-inundate ourselves and just jump all in.
Yeah, I'm in too many leagues, but I only have like one or two I could actually cut.
That's me. This offseason, I said, you know what? I'm going to cut a few leagues, and no,
I
can't.
because I'm either in it with people that I enjoy being in leagues with, like Theory and Stash, or I'm in it with a team that just took the championship. I had points for record over the top by like 20 points a game, and I'm not just going to give that away when I could just continue to cash cow that shit for the next couple of years. There's no room to quit anyone's, and cutting the nasties would be easy, but I'm not saving that much money on dues, and there's no time investment. There's literally no reason to cut them.
Right, exactly.
It's such a brutal conundrum.
And then startup season's coming.
Oh, God.
We'll do at least 3. No, I've already committed to 1. Stan Hyatt, my buddy Stan Hyatt, who runs the Leatherheads leagues, which are freaking awesome. But I've already committed to 1. And then we're going to run. I know of another one that we're going to run. So it's going to happen, dude. Don't fight it.
I can't do anymore.
Yes, you can.
I can't.
That's what we talked about this a few weeks ago. I was like, even with my checklist and how overwhelming it got, I feel like I got room for 3 or 4 more, and I guarantee you I'll make room. It's gonna happen. So it's an addiction, man. I love it. Startup draft. What's better than a startup draft, dude?
It's the best thing ever.
A 2QB IDP startup draft where you're moving picks and you're getting first and you're giving the odds. There's nothing better, dude.
Points per carry running back. Oh, yeah.
Even better.
It's the good
stuff. We just went completely off the deep end with our scoring system. But you know what? It worked.
It absolutely did. I will not go into a league that does not have some degree of points per carry at this point.
The points per carry, the tight end premium.
The IDP scoring.
The IDP scoring, which we just turned it on its ear this summer. We did some crazy shit in IDP scoring, and it worked. And we did it all with 6-point passing touchdowns.
Yep. It was as balanced as it could be. The literally the weakest point of our setup now is the wide receiver position.
Mm-hmm.
Because
which is good, though. Right?
Yeah, and once you have 4 or 5, there's no need to have the depth like we would normally collect. We don't have to dedicate your entire team to wide receivers. It requires you to build your team as a more balanced unit, which I'm all about.
Yeah. And then we had the one league where we took the flexes completely away. No flexes.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking
scoring
about.
So it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, we did a tangent pretty well there, and we're on one of the longer time periods for our shows, but I can't say I didn't expect it knowing how long we've been away. So we are going to finish it up with a rant of the week or a rant of the last 2 months, but it's more appropriate for like the last 2 weeks. Fuck Odell Beckham. Fuck Tyler Eifert for being, getting concussions. Fuck Alshon Jeffrey. Ingram can beat a dick. All these guys that I needed in my championship to duke it out with Tyler, and I'm limping in there with Willie Snead, and I didn't even get a chance to start Inman. If I had started Inman, I might have had a chance. That's how limped this roster was. It was just decimated. I should have wiped it, but Tyler earned it. He beat me fair and square. But come on, one of y'all suck it up and play through some hurt. Or Odell, stop getting suspended.
Ooh, I never thought in a million years. My whole I have zero information, but I was like, you know what? The NFL knows where their bread is buttered, and it's in fantasy. And they know that week 16 is championship week. There's no freaking way they suspend Odell Beckham. None. Zero. And they did it. But yeah, Drew came in limping. But I beat him anyway. Hey, I started Kamar Aiken and Bilal Powell and Sam Bradford.
Was a legitimate fantasy start this year.
Willie Snead wasn't a legitimate fantasy start this year.
Yeah, but he wasn't even my worst option. Kamar Aiken scored as like a top 30 wide receiver for the season, and that includes how Steve Smith started out. That's a legitimate start, in my opinion.
I won titles with Kamar Aiken this year. Multiple titles. 3 Dynasty titles with Kamar Aiken in the lineup. It was a thing of beauty.
But you know what? That one doesn't even hurt nearly as bad as the week 14s that I went out on from some bum weeks and some of my best players. There was a league I was supposed to repeat in. I was just primed to do it, and just team blew it. Just didn't have a chance. Another league, same thing happened. It's these rosters. I got Robinson, I got Cooks, I got Beckham. They're ready to throw down, and then nothing. Killed me.
Yeah, the playoffs, man. The playoffs are. Whew.
I will tell
you. There's a better way to do it, but there really isn't, unless you just go all play, which takes out all the intensity.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, they had it like in the first Dynasty or first fantasy league I ever did, we did combined week scoring for the playoffs. But then you have to play week 17, or you're cutting your fantasy season down another week to play it on week 15, which I don't want to do that. It's not fun. Plus, it kind of removes some of the variance and excitement of fantasy. But to me, the another kind of tangent, but it has to go back to Odell Beckham. Clearly, the suspension, anything short of a suspension, does not send the message across. Because go back and look how Josh Norman interacted with Mike Evans in Week 17, and he was doing the same shit, except he couldn't throw Mike Evans to the ground because he's bigger than him. I mean, he didn't care. He paid a fine. He's like, whatever. I'm just going to keep doing what I want.
I sent a message. It's good. I mean, that Norman Beckham thing, that was trash.
It was
both of them. It was just absolute garbage. I mean, it's like a Reddit forum fight. Nobody looks good. Neither one of those guys look good for that. That was ridiculous. And then Evans gets the hook, the very next week. It's just I like that they sent the message. I mean, I dislike it that Odell wasn't available for championship week, and that's shitty. We're talking about not just like, oh, this guy's a solid starter. We're talking about, top 2 or 3 play regardless of format.
Yeah.
In championship week.
But if they were going to suspend him, that's the time to do it. Because if they delayed the suspension to like week 1 of next year, it doesn't send the message. By the time it happens, he's so separated from the issue that he's not learning anything. And if it gets moved to, like week 17 or something, then all they're saying is we're going to accommodate you.
Yeah.
There was really no way this worked out well besides, well, really there's no way, because if you just blow it off, then that looks really bad on you.
No, they did what they had to do. Just sucked. The timing of it could not have been more brutal. I still think I beat you with Beckham.
You might have. That's fair. If I needed Beckham and another one of my guys healthy.
You needed Alshon
or Eifert.
But see, I had no Dez. I had no luck. I had luck, but I didn't have any luck. Started Bilal frickin' Powell, for Christ's sake. When you're starting Bilal Powell week 16, that's not where you want to be, man.
Who's my bottom guy I started? I think I started Theo Riddick, or it might have been Devontae Adams. It was either way. It was not good things.
Riddick in half point PPR is just. Well, you don't think that half point is much? It matters, man.
It does, but it doesn't matter enough with Riddick because
the ceiling's so capped.
The yardage isn't there. He's literally making points off the receptions, which is kind of the issue there. But I mean, I feel like that's kind of enough about that. Probably start wrapping it up. This has been a blast. I miss doing this.
Definitely. It's going to be very rambly.
Yeah.
But fun, so who cares?
It's going to take a couple of weeks for us to get that out of our system, and this is going to take forever to edit. But I want to know y'all's opinion. For next season, really the biggest reason we didn't record and put out shows during the season was we didn't want to record on like Saturday and then edit it all and have it ready to go Sunday afternoon, Monday morning, and have that whole day of football in there that we didn't discuss. But we couldn't find another day that worked for us. So what would y'all think about us recording on the Saturday before games and not having any input on the games that just happened and putting out a show like that? Because the more I think about it, the more it makes more sense to do that. Because if you're having immediate reactions on what just happened, that's the antithesis, excuse me. I know how to say that word, to what we do in Dynasty. If we're making knee-jerk reactions that's not appropriate. Granted, there's going to be hot waiver wire pickups that we're not going to be able to cover, and we're going to miss them. But I feel like overall, it's a way that can work. It makes sense. Plus, it's kind of the only way it's going to happen. So, I mean, would that be something y'all be interested in? Just a show that's not completely up to date, but mostly up to date?
Like kind of up to date. And then we can give like super hot takes, like this guy's going to go off tomorrow, and then he doesn't. But thank you for saving me from Jordan Matthews during the misses. That's what I was thinking of. I remember we recorded, and I was like, Jordan Matthews is going to go off tonight, and then he just drops everything in sight. He still had a nice season, but God almighty, he dropped a lot of balls. What would he have had without the drops? It'd have been crazy.
He still had a top 24 season.
All right, here's a crazy theory, shot out of a cannon. I think Sam Bradford throws a bad ball. I don't know what it is.
It's weird.
Nobody could catch it.
It's a weird, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And actually, you're not the first person I've heard say that.
So let's see. Aguilar's fine.
Ertz
J-Matt's
is
fine. Ertz. Ertz. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's happening in a big way next year. He's going to ride this hot wave and come out. And why won't Britt Sellett go away?
I don't know. But it doesn't matter what he does. He'll still be behind Tyler Eifert.
Touchdown dependent, broken Tyler Eifert. That guy?
Whatever.
That same Tyler Eifert?
Whatever. Tell me about all the touchdowns that Zach Ertz didn't catch.
Tell me the times that Tyler Eifert had 10 or 12 grabs in a game. Let's talk about those games.
Don't have to. Touchdowns.
He
made points.
God, I played in a standard work league, no PPR, nothing. I'm like, this is a fucking touchdown league. It's all it is. If you don't get a touchdown, you got to do shit. If your team doesn't score a bunch of touchdowns, you lose. How brutal. Just brutal. God, chasing touchdowns. I hate that. Give me the targets, man. I want to chase targets.
I like double-digit touchdowns. Those are fun for me. Fair enough. But with that, I think we're going to call it a night. You got any last parting shots for us, bud?
No, I think we ran the gamut, didn't we?
Kind of did. I think we're just short of 2 hours. I'm so stoked to be back. Guys, if you like the show, give us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher. If that's how you listen to the show, download it from there. We want to try and get the popularity up, and really this offseason I want to grow the podcast, grow the brand, and really get it out there because we have important things to say. They may not be smart things, but we think they're important.
Exactly.
But really, we appreciate all y'all that listen. We are so glad to be back, and we hope y'all stick around with us. So with that, this has been the Dynasty Playbook. I've been your host, Drew. You can find me on Twitter at DrewDotson NFL. With me has been my excellent co-host, Tyler. You can find him on Twitter at HBombIDP. Thanks. We'll see you again next time.